That's a very key point that you're making. You got to follow your heart.
Yeah. And no matter, like, yeah, I'm walking away from X amount of money or X, a great, great position, great, great role. But if you're not doing what you love to do, what's the point? I think that, for me, is kind of everything.
Greetings and welcome to Oops, I'm in College. What's next? My name is Suzanne Ishii, and I am pleased to be your host for this podcast. I am the director of the NJIT Hub for Creative Placemaking and for Film and Television Workforce Development. This podcast is hosted by the Martin Tuckman School of Management at NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Now, with each of our new podcasts, we focus on a theme. And today's theme is head-on collision. It is my pleasure to introduce you to one of our wonderful students here at the Martin Tuckman School of Management who's going to talk to us about head-on collisions. So please welcome Aditya Tagati. Aditya, welcome. We're so happy to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
We're so pleased to hear from you today, to hear about your experiences and where you are with your college studies. So let's start off with that, if you will. Where are you within your studies here at the Martin Tuckman School of Management, or at NJIT in general?
Well, I'm an MBA student here at MTSM, and I'm now in my third semester, about to finish up my third semester, and I have one more to go. So I'm graduating in this May.
That's great. And just to clarify for our audience, an MBA is?
Oh, it's a master's in business administration,
right,
for those who might not know.
Yeah, absolutely. That acronym may not be familiar to everyone in our audience, so thank you for clarifying. So you're about to finish your third year?
Third semester, yeah.
Third semester, and how long is the program altogether?
It's technically a 2-year program.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be finishing it in a year and a half.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
I started in January, so.
Okay,
yeah.
So you're speeding right along. That's really great.
Yeah.
So you and I've had a little chat before. We're sitting down to this table together, and we talked a little bit about head-on collisions and some of the things that you've experienced in your life. Let's take a little walk back to your undergraduate days and when you were graduating from college for the first time, and what happened then. What was your experience at graduation and your first job experiences?
Well, I graduated from Rutgers University, so not too far from here.
No.
And I graduated around 2022, and so I think the winter of 2022 up till that upcoming spring in 2023 or upcoming summer in 2023, I was kind of lost. I was looking for jobs. I was trying different things because I had already, gathered a lot of work experience during my undergrad, working for different tech companies as an intern and working for, a startup, doing different roles, whether it's cybersecurity, data analytics, or marketing. Mm-hmm. So, but my background was in economics and math. So I was really unsure of, what field I wanted to be in, whether I could get into, the field I really wanted to be in, which was like economics and finance, whether I would like tech better. And, that job market was kind of tough. And so I ended up landing a great role as a cloud analyst at a company called, company out in Southern California, out in LA. And I worked there for a little over 6 months. Mm-hmm. So And I realized that, the job wasn't for me.
So what were the problems with the job? Why was the job not for you?
Well, I mean, I it's a great job, and it was a great, field, a great company. I loved everyone who I worked with, everyone who I met. I learned so much during that time about the business world, about the tech space in general. But what I came to realize is, like, every day I was coming into work and seeing, like, empty offices, because, with tech, you have more flexibility. There's a lot more freedom when you can come into the office, and the nature of the work allows you to work remotely more often than not. And for me, I wanted a work environment that felt like there was pressure. And a lot of my colleagues, they tell me stories of them working in a lot of these, like, big asset management firms, or big big financial firms, and the culture there was a lot more pressure. There was people in office, and the work was just generally very interesting. And not to say that tech isn't, like, depending on the tech company you're in, and the project you're working on, and your own likings. There are a lot of different areas in tech where people thrive and people really enjoy. For me, tech isn't really the space that, like, one, I was equipped to handle because of how fast paced it is, and it wasn't where my heart really was. So
That's interesting.
yeah.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you went in, you didn't have a whole lot of direction, and so that must have been challenging for you a little bit to know what you were doing. And it wasn't something that you totally loved, but you were committed to doing the work, and you were showing up on time, and you were doing all of that. So share with us a little bit more about some of those kinds of collisions that you were running into, those walls that you were running into in your first job.
Oh, my God.
And I'm sure you were
Yeah.
eager to make a good impression and to be a good worker, but
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot. And in general, when you come out of undergrad, you're not a polished, I guess, employee product, if you will.
did you think you would be?
I-
Was
I-
that surprising to you?
I thought I would be, because I had been working for so
see.
long, so I was already adjacent to a lot of those tech spaces. But that really wasn't the case, because I hadn't spent enough time working in person, and I didn't really understand the business side of things. I didn't understand, my place in a tech organization, in a modern tech organization. I wanted to be able to contribute and learn, but, like, it's not. I'm not. I wasn't the most ready for that career, that specific career. I was a cloud analyst, so I didn't know too much about cloud technology. I'd worked with a lot of different technology with data analytics and cybersecurity, but I wasn't too familiar with, like, cloud architecture.
So that's really interesting that you would be employed in a company and employed to do something that really wasn't your area of, or at least what you thought was
Not
your
exactly, yeah.
expertise. So that must have been a tremendous challenge for you, especially since you were so diligent and you wanted to do a good job and you want to be impressive and you wanted to help the company out. So did you stay there very long, or did you have another opportunity that came up?
Well, no. The other opportunity was the MBA. Pursuing my MBA.
Okay, so what drove you to that decision with regards to working? How long were you in the workforce in California?
I was there for, like, close to 7 months.
Okay, so that was a nice chunk of time
Yeah.
to get your feet wet. You were away from all of your family, all the way on the other side of the country. I'm sure that had its own challenges.
Yeah, certainly.
And then, as you stated, you weren't really following your heart for what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite the right thing. So, did it make you nervous, or was it a difficult decision for you to make with regards to deciding to come back to school and pursue further education?
It certainly was a difficult decision. it didn't really make me nervous, but I felt that I don't know, choosing to leave any job is tough.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure you had to make that choice. You know, you're in a field.
Oh,
and
no, I was in show business. I had no choice.
Well,
Besides the fact.
Well, yeah. Well, you know, when you have a steady job and you're doing fairly well, and you know it's a great company, things are seemingly good. You usually don't make the choice of like, you know, I want to leave from that. I want to pursue, you know, a higher education. I want to.
I want to go back to school. It must feel a little bit like going backwards, right?
Yeah, it does a little bit, but I think what gave me a little sense of like closure and sense of relief is that that I knew that I'd be pursuing what I wanted to do.
Yeah. There you go. That's a very key point that you're making. You got to follow your heart.
Yeah. And no matter, like, yeah, I'm walking away from X amount of money or X, you know, a great, great position, great, you know, great role. But if you're not doing what you love to do, what's the point? I think that for me is kind of everything. More so than all the. Of course, those are, you know, two very important things. But what your passion is everything. You know.
And sometimes it takes a while to find that passion.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess you were thrown into a situation where it was clear that what you were doing was not it.
Yeah.
Right. So now you've decided that you want to try to come back to school and earn your MBA. And come back you chose to come back across the country.
Yes.
How difficult was that choice? What was that process like? What kind of challenges did you have with that?
With coming back. I think really, you know, the hard thing was like car, all that sort of stuff. But like,
what about financially? Was that easy to leave your job and come back to school?
that was a challenge.
That was a big collision.
Going from income to no income, and like considerably not good income. It's just, it's that's a tough choice to make. But but I'm thinking more again for like the future and what I want to do.
And so you came back to New Jersey deliberately, to where your family was. And what did you find when you came? Are you living at home? So you had to come back to live at home.
Yeah,
Okay.
has
that been a challenge?
It's I'll be honest. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a challenge. You know, having your own space, especially that too being 10 minutes away from the beach, and the beaches in the West Coast are amazing, and and having your own space, your own freedom. So now going back home when most of your peers have moved out and have established starting to establish their lives. Meanwhile you're just kind of at home pursuing your MBA and
So did you know you wanted to pursue your MBA? That was specifically what you were looking for?
Yes.
And then when you went on your university search, what made you find you in NJIT?
Well, my search was kind of shortened because I was working and I wanted to find an MBA program fairly quickly, and I was only looking at the East Coast.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I looked at a few West Coast schools. Certainly, I had looked at UCLA, USC, and those schools, but I would rather have done my MBA in the East Coast because of the proximity to the city, and I think that's the financial capital of the world. That in London. So I was looking at Rutgers again. I had already gone there, so I looked at schools like NYU and other schools nearby. But then I came across NJIT. I had friends who had gone to NJIT, and I saw that they were this was back in like 2023. They were ranked really high in a Wall Street Journal article in their business school, and I thought that was really like impressive. And then I looked more into it, the things that they offered with in terms of finance and the ability to study fintech as like a custom concentration.
And fintech is?
Fintech is just financial technology. Yeah. So anything that's payment systems, cryptocurrencies, any sort of technology that integrates with finance, or helps serve financial service companies is considered fintech.
And that's where your heart lies.
Yes, I think that particularly is where my heart lies, because that I think is the future, and I also believe that having my tech background along with like my economics and finance background now would mesh well. I got the chance to participate in a Bloomberg global Bloomberg trading challenge, and over a month we meet in a team. We trade we have this amazing Bloomberg lab, which I was pleasantly surprised to see when I first came to NJIT, and we got to work on the terminals there, and we got to compete with 2,000 schools across the world, and then I'm also in a CFA challenge, so the Chartered Financial Analyst challenge run by the CFA Society in New York. So I'm in that challenge with a few peers who are also in the MTSM program, and we are doing an equity research challenge. So we basically we're given a company, and we have to do some research on it and present to a committee. And aside from that, I'm also doing my own research. It's started out as a part of a class. Hopefully it can, continue down the line and get peer reviewed, maybe published. Who knows? A lot more work would need to be done, I think. And but I'm currently working on a research project to kind of eliminate market frictions in finance, using a machine learning model for trading. So
that's fascinating and impressive. So it sounds like to me that you graduated from undergraduate school with full steam ahead, and you met in some real roadblocks on your way, because you got work, which would be the ultimate goal, but it wasn't the work that your heart felt like you needed to follow. So you took the bold step and moved back home, which had its own challenges, and lost your financial cushion that you had before, and you figured out a way to overcome those challenges, and I'm sure your family has welcomed you back home, which does ease the situation.
Certainly.
And now you're in graduate school, and you're passionate about what you're doing because you are finally following your heart. So what's the next step? What do you anticipate when you finish up here pretty shortly?
True.
Perhaps faster than you are aware.
Yeah, but hopefully, I will be working in the field I want, which is in financial services, parts of high finance, or even the fintech space. I think most likely that's what's going to happen, and hopefully we'll see where I end up, and where I have to move to again if that's the case. But hopefully I could be in New York. I think that's the place to be. But I'm open to going anywhere. I like to travel.
As long as you can follow your heart, right?
Yeah,
That's the key here. So the takeaway here is you must find your passion and follow your heart. That's the way to overcome head-on collisions. Aditya Tigati, we wish you all kinds of success and luck as you move into your next phase of your life where you're truly following your passion and your heart. And we thank you so much for taking the time to stop by and visit with us today.
Thank you.
Until next time, folks, be sure to find us on .educast and stay tuned for our next podcast, Oops, I'm in College, What's Next? When we'll hear from another wonderful former student at NJIT.